Hello everybody, welcome to one of the most politically charged ghouls and bots there's ever been. I know we had our crazy tears and blood-red moons based on the midterms, but tonight I come to you in a world changed. For the first time in history, an American president has appeared before a court after being indicted for a crime. And I'm not saying that I relish this fact, but I am saying that the wheels of justice have turned. For a man who has been polluting our lives for the last, and I say this with no rejoice or malice, but 8 years, 6 years, whatever it is, well past his term for being even in our consciousness. He lost the 2020 election, a fair and free election, and he didn't go away. He should have just toddled off into the distance, had his presidential library, and none of us would have been any the wiser. But he had to lie and cheat and steal and threaten to come back like some kind of unflushable turd. And it wasn't just us that was in peril. It was the world, it was the climate, and it was Ukraine. It was everything, really. And so, tonight's Booze and Bots is a very, very special one. Because we stand on the precipice of history. And thank God we're on the right side. Having said that, welcome to Season 3. Don't worry, it's not real. It's not lit. It's a prop. Oh. But, I mean it, seriously. Channeling my inner hunter. I felt like that was the time to do it. God rest his soul, even though he's like a hideous, womanizing freak. But, brilliant writer, insightful fellow. Very glad he came into my life, but that's not really what we're talking about right now. Because we're here to talk about Transformers and what has been going on. It's weird leaping through time with videos because the last time you saw me was Christmas, I think. And now it is April. It was like 4 months later. That's how all good TV shows work, isn't it? You have a hiatus. You can't just have constant Neighbours. Even Neighbours stopped. I burnt my hand. Boiling water. I've been looking after kittens. See? We are vlogging after all, so I should talk about the kittens. There are 2 kittens here right now. They're lovely. Should I go get them? I don't know. Let me introduce you to Wanda and Zelda. This is Zelda. Hi. Meow! I'm sorry. Oh, ow. And this is Wanda. And obviously not used to being in a strange room with lights and music and tequila spilt all over the table. 10 seconds ago they were happily crawling around in the lounge room. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Ah, don't kill me. Kitten brooch. They're not happy. Bad idea, obviously. Anyway, there's Wanda. Let go. What are you doing? Let go. They're just in a weird new environment. Hey, look. What? Screaming like a weirdo. It's you, look. I've traumatized them for life. Well, for the record, there were kittens. Get on with the program, goddammit. Let's open some Transformers. Alright. I'm going to do something that is very fun. Something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. And I can feel my heart fluttering just thinking about it. And it's going to be like a true fun thing to do. I'm going to open a character that has never existed in my collection before. It's not that the name is original, because Inferno, as we know, is our beloved fire engine here, because obviously Inferno is a good name. They did try and recycle names in the Beast Wars era as much as they could, but I think this is the first time that a name jumped factions. There was speculation back when we started talking about the Legacy era of a Voyager class Inferno, and everyone was like, Inferno? There can't be another Inferno, because they released Inferno in the Kingdom days, and then we saw another Inferno coming up when they had like the Target leaks in America or the Kmart leaks in America or whatever it was, and they're like, oh, there's another Inferno coming out. It's like, well, Blaster got released in Kingdom and Legacy. I picked him up in the Legacy range because he didn't make it to Australia in Kingdom as far as I was concerned. And it's happened with other things. They redid Galvatron into Legacy. Like I got a Kingdom Galvatron, and then they did a Legacy Galvatron and whatever. But it was like, oh no, they're not going to do the same thing with Inferno, surely. Like, why would there be two Infernos? And my friends at home, I say gratefully that they did not. Because we finally, and this is, I think, the last of the mainstream Beast Wars things to come out from the Kingdom line and then like chucked into Legacy, because we didn't get any other Beast Wars dudes in Legacy. But we finally have a Voyager class Inferno for the colony. You would have heard me bang on about this guy that like kept referring to Megatron as the Queen, because he thought, you know, Megatron being the leader of the colony or the Predacons, he would automatically be the Queen. So he kept referring to him as my Queen, which is hilarious. And it almost seems fitting in a way, because we are standing on the precipice of some kind of Inferno with Trump being indicted and doing his court case and everything. And I remember back in the days, before I even knew what was going on, there was a liquor store over there. I think I'm pointing in the right direction. And they were doing like packaged alcohols, and one of the packaged alcohols was Fireball with little cans of Coke, and it was called like Bring on the Inferno. And there was a photo of Trump, or like a picture of Trump. And the reason that was a thing, like a packaged thing, was because he'd been like, oh, bring on an Inferno. So it's fitting that we have a character called Inferno. Look at the art, look at the ant art. Inferno blazing guns. And he's red too. Trump was red and orange and all the other colours. This was a rare-ish kind of occurrence in retail in Australia. I saw it a couple of times when I didn't have enough money to buy it, and it was like a reasonable price, and then it kind of vanished. And my lovely girlfriend Belinda happened to find a damaged box. Well, I can't tell if you can tell that the box is damaged, but you know, like if I do this, is it dinted? I don't know. You can see like a bit dinted there and there. I mean, I ripped the label off because I didn't want to damage the Booze and Bots episode, but I'm pretty sure it was like $30 or something, and then normally it's like 50 or 60 or I don't know. But it's exciting looking at his face. He looks like an angry Trump. He's no G-Axis or G-Axis, but I feel like it's a thing. I mean, look at this. Ah! Look at what's going on there. Leftist, extreme. Ah, that's what he's spouting. It looks like it. It's a transformer. It's a children's toy. He looks like to be all legs there on the back. He turns into an ant, a fire ant, in 26 steps. I love Inferno. He's one of the greatest characters from the Predacon era. He is from the Legacy range as designated by his spine. And as I said, the box was damaged, and you can kind of tell there. A little bit damaged. Damage. But I'm not in it for boxes. I'm in it for well-preserved pieces of plastic. Is there anything else to report here? $28! Bargain. Bargain. Reduced. This is going to be an exciting moment. It's literally the last of the... At this, I don't know if they're going to continue. They seem to be like drifting down the Armada path now. They're going to release an Armada Optimus Prime, an Armada Megatron, both command class. I picked up a Armada class Starscream at the same price point. And I don't know what happens after that. We're in unknown territory. There he is. For the first time in 15 years, a very decent Inferno. Voyager class. I don't know if he was back then. So I think he might be the last. I hope not. I hope we get some of the Furzors. I'd love a Silver Bolt. You know, he's cool. They just actually released today the next wave of the Legacy classes. And we're getting a Deluxe class Beachcomber, which will be very cool because we love Beachcomber. And a Deluxe class Devcon, who is the bounty hunter that was in the episode with Smokescreen when he was gambling, hunting down Slazado, I think his name was. It'd be cool if he came with Slazado. Beachcomber's gonna come with a bird, a gold bird from the Gold Lagoon episode. That'd be cool. I don't think Defcon's gonna come with Slazardo. He was the guy that he was trying to chase, and then Smokescreen ended up gambling, and they ended up being in a, I don't know, it was a complicated episode. One of the strange episodes in season 2, which was just characters and stories, not necessarily on Earth, which was also cool. Yeah, one of the things about tentacles is there's a lot of plastic bits to snip off. Hopefully they don't poke my eye in the process. So what holds him in is his giant ant butt. And his other legs, I guess. They seem to be the backs of some legs. Release yourself from the giant ant butt of doom. He comes with this gun, which I'm assuming is that. But I'm very grateful that it just doesn't come with the stupid plastic things. Ow! Fuck. It looks like it should have some kind of pluggy things, but it doesn't, which is also good. I would be remiss if I did not report this piece of paper. Because, you know, it's like the star of the show. Where is the box? I didn't have the moment of like opening him up and being like, ah, he's cool. He reminds me of a master of the universe. Crabclaw? Manatee, or whatever the guy, one of the Hordak guys. He blends into the background. It's hard to point him out. Like he's red and purple. These pantaloons, these giant feet, the angry face. I don't know, he's cool, I really like him. You know, does he count, does he tick the boxes of a Transformer? He's more of an action figure. I mean, they're all action figures, really. He's got light piping, I think. You can see that. If I shone light through his eyes, his eyes might glow, maybe. He's got multiple limbs, 6. And then, I guess he's not an arachnid, so 6 is enough. But he's very cool. He'll become an ant, as we see on the back of the box. A giant ant. Hello again. Febfast Time Travelin' Fab here. This time with the hat I am wearing in this actual recording. And my giant cup of Virgin Mary, Fab style, with extra chili and a celery stick to help out my pissed friend there with his transformations that he didn't do at the time. As I was editing this video, I transformed our cast of characters that we are about to see without the instructions. I just sort of struggled through and figured it out. But what we're going to do this time is we're going to actually do it with the instructions. So I'll get to compare whether the instructions make it easier or worse. But because I've already done it, I will know, and I won't sit there going insane. I'm going to have a sip of this hideously spicy tomato concoction. Woo! And we're going to start with Inferno, which is a fitting thing, really, isn't it? So we remember Inferno, we've just been talking about him. But here I am, less than a year later, to actually transform him. And I'm not sure if I actually did this at the time, so I might as well do it now. We've got a foot angular positioning joint. We bend at the knee, and we don't twist anywhere but the upper. There is no hip swivel. The hands do have a bit of movement in them. There is an elbow bend, and then an upper elbow swivel there, and then the head can go and look left and look right, and not very down because it's got a big giant chest in the way. So, having gone through all that, let's turn him into an ant. I could have said gnat, but he doesn't turn into a gnat. Something that rhymes anyway. Alright, so, according to this, our first step is to swing this chest out. Like that. Then we break apart the head, and you'll see the pincers there. Bring the pincers out, fold the head down, swing this up, and then fold the head over the head. And then you can just tab that back together like that, which doesn't click it, but it does make a frictiony rub sound. So there you go, we've got our ant head. The next step, according to the instructions, is we bring the tail pieces out. Like that. And then fold these large back legs back and down. Like that. We then take the arms and fold them up into themselves, like that. Actually, he's still holding his gun. I should get rid of that. Novice mistake there. So we fold the arms up like that. It says we then spin the waist, so maybe the waist does spin. Well, there you go. It does. Just not when all its parts are in place, obviously. So then you've got that there. Got a giant cavity there that the arms will fold up into. And there's a pivot here. So what you want to do is you want to pivot this arm in like this. And there is, you see in here, these little square clips. These claws will clip in there. And you want to make sure that that leg lines up with that little curve there. Same on the other side. And there is also, you'll see a tab, a little red tab there, and there's a hole there, and that will just also lock into place. So now you've got your arms. Starting to look like an ant. Oh, it's even making clicking noises like an ant. Oh, it's scary. I've gone off the instructions here a bit. Because the instructions are confusing and I probably wouldn't have known how to do that if I hadn't already done it. Now we've got this. We take the feet at the front, swing this back section all the way around, this will collapse. And then close that over there like that. Same again with this leg. Then you'll see we've got a nodule and a hole. Plug those together. We then take this back leg assemblage and lift it up and over so that it's like that. So then with these sections here, make sure these legs are all folded nicely in there. And then you'll see a little nodule there and you've got these holes here. And this is going to close over the back of that. And that'll make it all nice and tight. And then you take the tabs here, tab them in there. Get in the ant. And there you go, that'll conceal most of that there. Then just make sure all your legs are in the right position. And there you have it. Oh, except for an antler that's in an antler, an ant, antenna, all the ant puns. Inferno. Giant ugly ant. For the colony! For the royalty! Make all the jokes. And yeah, nice detail on there, nice dry brushing on the middle bit. These are a bit blue. But what are you going to do? There's no movement here on the middle bulls. But really nice metallic blue eye. It's very cool. And, I mean, he's a fire ant that looks a bit more like a wasp, really, but I do remember him being a fairly large character. So really, if you transformed him and had him next to Tigertron, you would have an ant that was the same size as a tiger. I mean, we're not the BBC here, are we? Look at those colours, children. Man. So let's drink to that. Actually, let's eat some, we'll have a bite of celery. Back to you in the land of pissness. Where are those talons? I reckon if we split this apart, we will find them. Yeah, there they are, look. I feel like I've just dissected an alien. Alien autopsy. Sorry, Inferno. Dignity. Dignity, people! Not what Trump got today. Ah, man. I always knew that this was going to happen. That once the man was finally brought to justice, I would feel sorry for him. But he's had justice coming for the last 70 years plus. But this man is finally looking at some jail time and he's scared. And I don't want people to be scared. No one wants people to be punished because they want them to be scared. They only want people to be punished so that they can have time to hopefully think about what they've done. Penitentiary isn't a punishment. Penitentiary is about penance. Anyway, I'm banging on. Inferno is cool, look at him. Where's his weird gun? His giant cannon of a gun. The start of the Trump presidency, the Inferno that was promised before he was even elected, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should see if there's anyone that is on the shelf to tell the story of the Trump presidency. Let's start with the promise of the Inferno, and here is Inferno. He bends at the elbow. He has a wrist swivel. He's Voyager class, so he's going to be fairly detailed. His hands are pincers, basically. Look. He has a 3-pronged attack. And then a bit of a covering there, which was almost like a 4th prong, but no, they're really just that with a bit of that going on. His head looks left, looks right, looks a little bit up, looks a little bit down. It's on a, looks like a ball joint. We're in Legacy, so that's not a ball joint. The elbow bend is not a ball joint. And the knee is also not a ball joint, but it's got a fairly sturdy pin in there as well, so yeah. For the colony. So, along the journey, Trump was elected. So we go from the Inferno to the Jolt into American politics. And yes, obviously I am making this up as I go along. So now we're going to open Jolt. Now the story of Jolt comes in 2 sections. I wasn't going to buy Jolt. My lovely girlfriend Belinda, she was in Target. They were reducing their Studio Series guys, and they had Hot Rod and Crosshairs. And I never picked up Crosshairs. Crosshairs is from Age of Extinction, voiced by Ray Liotta or someone. He's always been a shell former. Like back in the day when I picked up the other Age of Extinction Transformers, I didn't pick him up. A while ago I was looking around trying to do my stock take of everyone, and I was like, where's Crosshairs? I must have got Crosshairs. Why would I have just not got a character? Turns out I didn't get him because he's a shell former, basically, because he has a green trench coat and that is his whole gimmick. It makes it very easy for him to just like turn into a transformer. And I like my Transformers to transform, not just be covered in their own shell, which is the definition of a shell former. And when I was looking at the website, I was like, oh, there's Jolt as well. And then I did my research, like, who is Jolt? The amount of times I've gone into retail stores and seen Jolt there and he's been on special and I'm just like, Jolt, whatever, Jolt. Anyway, at the time that she was buying these for me, I was like, oh, so is Jolt on special as well? And they're like, nah, Jolt's more, Jolt's $40, which doesn't make any sense really. I mean, he was a lot older than the rest of them. So I would have thought that he would have been more on sale, but he wasn't. And in some kind of moment of madness, I don't know, FOMO, it's like him, but not him. I was like, well, I better find a way to get Jolt. And then I just like fumbled about on the internet and I found him for $35. And then I did my research, I was like, well, he's in Revenge of the Fallen, I better do this. Turns out, he's really not in Revenge of the Fallen. He's in 2 scenes. One is when there is a, like everyone's like pulling into a bay or something, and not a Michael Bay, just a vehicle bay. And there's a thing in the background and he's like under some kind of hollow net and he's just like, doo, 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 doo. And then he's in the battle at the end when Devastator is there. I'm gonna do Devastator as well in this season because he's over there in that box and that's actually a thing. We need some devastation, but I'm not trying to bring that about because that would be horrible. If I can ever do an episode where Devastator is poignant because the world has been devastated and I'm broadcasting to you from some kind of bunker, that's not good. Then I regret being the Nostradamus of Doom. But anyway, I picked up Jolt. And here he is. And he is going to be, I think, the absolute last at this stage. I'll say it until I say it again. Transformers with a plastic box. Let's open a Transformer. Jolt! Completely irrelevant. Like, even on the Transformers wiki site, it's like, do I get to be in the next movie? Oh, Jolt. You know, he's just like, he's the Revenge of the Fallen dude. But he seems pretty cool. And he's the first, as far as I know, Chevy licensed Transformer. So, maybe the scum that make money off these things in the future after my body is in the cold, dark ground. And I say that with the nicest possible way because it's probably someone I know and probably a family member. Daniel, I don't know. Actually, look at the box. He has electro whips for some reason. There they are. Whip into shape. We are talking about Trump. He whipped his whole party into shape. He turned him into something that was not supposed to be. With his jolt into stardom. Political stardom. But still, there he is. Got a big jaw. Off-center Autobot symbol. Close-up face. And there it is. The GM... Whatever. I don't care. The last of the plastic Transformers. Although I say that, it's not 100% true. But the last of the massively big windowed Transformers. So here is his background. He's a studio series, so he comes in the background. And I do not know what that background is. Like somewhere in a city? He wasn't in the city, he was like, he fought in a desert, I don't know. Some art, pictures of Jolt. And then here he is, the insignificant bastard. It's small, it's got a nice head. No, it's a Studio Series Bayverse Transformer. I don't think they ever actually made a Studio Series version of Mudflap and Skids and Mudflap. And I'm glad, I think, because if I had to sit here and open them in front of you, I think I would be just like... Well... One of his fingers already fell off. Plugs back in nicely, guess that's a bonus. A jolt into insignificance is what we've got here. And I would say insignificance, except he wasn't that insignificant. He caused a lot of problems. Sorry about that. It's a different day, obviously. I realised that even though it was worth recording the momentousness of the occasion, doing a whole episode based on Trump, safe to say I wanted to kill myself. So I'm back, and I'm ditching that idea. And even though I had Transformers called Breakdown, Crankcase, and Dead End, which I thought kind of like summed up the whole situation nicely, I just couldn't do it. I lost a bit of a will to live with Jolt as well, because he's such a non-event in the movie. I bought him because he's in the movie just to round out the collection. But as I sat here looking at him, trying to talk about him, it was late at night and I was just like, couldn't do it. So, sorry. But I'm back now to continue on with whatever this is. So, I was talking about Jolt. Jolt was also one of the minicons in Transformers Armada. I don't know all that much about Transformers Armada. I have watched all of it. The whole vibe of it was that they were looking for these minicons that could like give them power-ups and then become something else. Anyway, that's something else that I know about Jolt. This is in the movie very briefly. I think I was looking at him just thinking, what is he? Look at this stupid... Just get up close and personal here with Jolt a little bit. These door things going on. It just seems silly. I mean, he's got an interesting face. And he transforms into a Chevy, the first Chevrolet licensed figure that Transformers have. Yes, I mean, you see here on the back, he doesn't have those stupid leg coverings, so he must be mistransformed. Mal-transformed. I don't know how we would do something about how we get rid of that. Yeah, I don't know, as I said, stupid. It seemed to somehow be more on his sides. This is the problem when I'm opening something that I don't really care all that much about. It's hard to make you even interested if I'm not. Whatever. Anyway, it's a miracle that he's even in the collection. Studio figures, they pop up and they're reasonable and they're actually in the movie. They're worth getting because they're actually not that bad a figure. He comes with some crazy whip-like devices. Electro whips. that I believe he used in the movie. I guess he holds onto with these plugs. No, he holds onto the ends somehow, so I guess that would make more sense. Both hands have one slightly maneuverable finger, which I guess means he can hold onto this weapon. Sort of. You see why he gave up? See why he lost the will to live? Talk about Trump and then playing with this guy and just being like, oh, now his finger's falling off. Come on. Yeah, right. That's enough of that. Thanks, Jolt. Thanks for playing. Bastard. So he'll go on the Transformers movie shelf. There he goes. I'm sure he'll make a fine addition to that shelf once it's finished. I bought these beers, these Kingfisher beers. That seem to like doing that. Which we haven't had happen in a while, but at least I was prepared for it. Look at it, bloody, what is it? Some kind of strange ice cream. Ugh. Alright, I'm going to jump ahead now, because I've been meaning to do this for a while, and open up Knockout. But also, let's have a tequila, so that we can be in the right frame of mind for these things. It was a real nightmare, that last filming session, because I started off filming it, and then I realised I was taking a photo. I refilmed it a couple of times, and I wanted to have like a freshly opened beer for the start of the season. And so I opened up several beers, but I didn't end up drinking them, and I was just like, and so I was like 3 beers in the fridge. They were all just sitting there open for about a week. So I bought some bad lemonade and turned them into shandies. All for you. All for the theatrics of the booze component of Brews and Bots. Cheers. Yeah, seriously. Alright, so I want to talk about Knockout. Knockout was released in the first wave of the Legacy series alongside Bulkhead. It was the first of the 2 Transformers Prime characters to be released into a Generations line, basically. The old adage of when do we get to have the S in Generations? Well, finally we got it, and no one was happy. Not a single person thought that Bulkhead looked cool. A single person. Most of the people that I read reviews from thought Bulkhead was too boxy and not sleek enough. And I think most people thought the same thing about Knockout, even though Knockout's original figure is also universally kind of panned. So, I'm not going to try and do it again because it's almost impossible, considering last time I tried to do a similar kind of accent with Smokescreen, I just ended up sounding like just stupid. So, Knockout has a similar kind of voice. He was all about how good his paint scheme looked and stuff like that. So he's basically a Decepticon version of Trax, but he was a bit more of a schemer. Came with this bent trident and was a cool character. I actually thought he was one of the cooler characters in Transformers Prime. But the figure, I guess, just leaves a little bit to be desired. Lanky arms, very Transformers Prime kind of head there. And recently, I think it was revealed through some form of something that Knockout is, I think, actually supposed to be gay. I think in something recently he made a comment about how nice someone's paint job was, which is not, doesn't make him gay, but he was basically hitting on another male Transformer, I think, by saying how nice their paint job was. I don't know, I'll have to look that up and get back to you. It might be bullshit, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember reading. He transforms into an Aston Martin 177-like car. Aston Martin being the car that Bond used to drive around. These are not licensed either, by the way. Unless they're screen accurate, they're not going to get licensed as the vehicle they represent. If they're just like a CGI model, you're never going to get licensed as an Aston Martin. Yeah. And he was in Transformers Prime. Pretty sure he was in Transformers Prime from the start. I don't know. As I said, more of a G1 guy. So, here is upgraded Knockout, who actually, once again, like as we were talking earlier, we had Bulkhead and other Bulkhead, and we had RC and other RC, and now we're going to have Knockout and Legacy Knockout. Maybe I'll get them all up and stand them all together and go, hey, what do you think of this? Because you'll notice the design is quite different. The Transformers Prime designs are sleeker, and these guys, to fit in with their generational friends, are boxier. I have a feeling I had to pick up Knockout from overseas. That probably answers that question, doesn't it? I'm not sure where he came from. It's probably like $50. Some kind of Asian writing all over the back of it. I don't think he came from Taiwan. Anyway, there he is as a Aston Martin car with a giant phallic cannon on top. We have some lovely paintwork here, some lovely art. This guy actually is a retool of Studio Series Jazz, who is also Golden Disc Jackpot. So they will look quite similar, even though Jazz was not an Aston Martin. But I guess that's why he's a retool. He'll have a different front end or something. There he is. Stumpy Knockout. And Legacy. Winding our way to the end of the Legacy releases that we have to open. Moving into Legacy Evolution, the next evolution, the next year. I managed to re-record all of those tracks that I accidentally deleted that one time from the playlist that's on the Booze and Bots web page, YouTube channel, whatever it's called. How was I going to tie Knockout into Trump? Ugh, I hate it. I hate everything about it. What was I thinking? Instructions. From quite a distance. Some drone taking a photo of him. More Asian writing, so obviously not from around here. Although it did come from Vietnam as well. It's stupid, as I've said before. They make him in Vietnam, they send him to Australia. They make him in Vietnam, they send him to China, Taiwan, they send him to Australia. It's all a bit sad, really. Vietnamese Transformers factory. Anyway, here he is, the man of the hour. Already you can see a lot chunkier. Nice paint detail though. Like a lot nicer than his counterpart here, or his not counterpart, his original version. We've got our Spider's packet. Can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. Spider's silk packets, cocoon of happiness, which I'm assuming will have his gun and trident. So remembering that Transformers Legacy up until this point, and, oh no, I lied before, by the way, as well. He's actually from the second wave of Transformers Legacy. So we do have a slightly translucent trident deal going on here. I guess it's his fused energized weapon. Oh, it's a tight, snug fit to get it to go onto the gun section. But there we have, this is the new and improved trident of Knockout. This one was always dumb because it was bent in the middle like that and it would never quite stay straight. What do you think? That one's more detailed, obviously. But it's short, isn't it? Oh, I guess they're almost the same height. It's just that one has... No, that's a lie too, really, isn't it? Like the trident sections are basically the same. Somehow the sticks are the same as well. I mean, you've got a slightly pointier end there. That gives it a whole range, more length, whatever that means. But here we go. I'm not sure if these are shelf swaps because it's like they need to have their own specialized place. I mean, the whole point of getting anything is to make it cartoon accurate. And neither of these guys are all like cartoon accurate. So look at these elven-like booties as opposed to these chunky red booties. But you can see what I mean straight away. That like the paint job is way better. But he's just chunky. Like, why can't I find the ideal position for them to be seen? It probably doesn't help that I'm wearing like a red thing, brown, whatever. So you can see that they've kind of got a similar style head. Some nice silver and red and grey paint decos here, and this guy's sort of more grey and red. What do we know about Knockout? We've got elbow bend, no wrist swivel. It does move in a little bit to be able to transform. Head looks around in all directions and up and down. So we've got an elbow bend and a rotate. And then a knee bend. Nothing going on with the feet there, really. As opposed to our old friend who had quite a wrist swivel. But arms made of nothing. Remember our friend Knockout here. Once again, I'm back, the sober one, to show you Knockout's alt mode. So first of all, we will remove this tiny spear. Remembering, as I said, that we are here in our sober capacity and our time traveling capacity to bring you the goods. And yes, looking at the instructions, after already figuring out how to do this without the instructions, it will be an interesting thing to find out. Apparently we transform in 18 steps. So the first step that we have is to bring these front wheel sections around. Like that. They've got a little tab there and there's a tiny little hole in there. They do lock in a little bit. The next thing that we'll do is fold the feet back and down. And you can see there that we're creating the back end of a car. We then disengage the knee, which will create a little hole there, and fold this whole leg into itself. So you can see at the back there, that's on a hinge and that just folds down. Like that. And we really are starting to create the back of a car there. And we will satisfyingly snap that into place. Won't we? Ah, click. There you go. We now take the arms, fold them down. And we rotate them like this. Other way. Like that. And we fold the hands in. Click. Click. We then swing the whole car assemblage up. And it's all starting to look pretty simple now. So we've got to get rid of the head, which then just folds into the front like that. And we've got a front panel here that flicks down and fills in the front of the car, like that. We take the back of the car and fold that out. I'm off book now, but anyway. So we'll end up with something like that. Then we take this groin plate, spin that around to the back there, like that. Fold the arms in to create the wheels. And you'll see you've got these arms, they've got a little tab there, so they will tab into that when that all closes over. Make sure everything's nice and straight, and then you've got little tabs there and a groove there, that protrusion there, this hole here, and it will all just push down there and then just push those doors in. There we go, click, 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 clickety click. And there we have Knockout in his car mode. Nice detail there on the side, some sort of fading metallic detail. Gold wheels. Not quite sitting flat there at the moment. Well, the front wheels are turning. Not that I'm going to sit there going boom, boom, boom. And what are we supposed to do with these guns? Stick that on the top there. Take this one and stick it in the rear side. So there you go. The drunk fool didn't do it for you, so I will. Cheers. So once again, I will say once again, I'm not 100% sold on the Transformers Primeverse figures from Legacy. Yeah, I just don't know. Need a bigger box to do this. Alright, so Knockouts, RC, Bulkhead, Knockout, RC, and Bulkhead. Yeah. I mean, you can't really see much of Bulkhead here. If he was like this, yeah. I think I'm still leaning towards the original, except that obviously Knockout is kind of shit. So there you have it, another crappy edition. from Legacy. It's had its hits and misses. There's one more Legacy figure to come that I think will be kind of cool. I don't have a Skyquake. They have released a Skyquake, which for some reason connects to Needlenose. They can join together. Needlenose was impossible to find as well. He didn't seem to turn up in Australia. I don't know what's going on with these jets. Needlenose, Misfire, they just aren't here. He was an interesting character in the Robots in Disguise IDW comic. Him and Horrible got his head exploded by a bomb when they put bombs in their heads to make sure the Decepticons all played nice. Needlenose was kind of like, "Oh, you killed my friend," but you know, like, it wasn't really anyone either. I think he was a Target Master originally. So I'm not overly disappointed that I haven't managed to track him down. One day, maybe. I'm not going to bend over backwards trying to do it, but it is interesting that he does seem to join. He plugs on top of Skyquake, because the only things that I can think of that would make that beneficial is that if they turn them into Dreadwing and Darkwing. Well, Dreadwing and Darkwind to create Dreadwind. Anyway, that is another story. Insecticon time. I don't know if I said I told you this story a while ago at some point. I did, I think, in one of the previous recordings of me trying to make this particular video. But Amazon are getting a bit screwy. And they seem to be manipulating the market for reasons which I can't really tell. It would seem to me that all it would be doing would be actually losing their money. The reason that I picked up Shrapnel a bit prematurely, and not from Amazon, I picked him up from Aussie Collectibles. He was the same price as Amazon, but it was like $10 shipping, which is a shame. So he turned to be like $50 instead of $40. You know, I've been watching Amazon and you watch prices go up and down. It's like watching the stock markets a little bit. Sometimes things start off kind of expensive and then they get cheaper and then they'll go on sale because they're not popular or whatever. And I had a bit of a freak out moment because two cars that I'll be opening up later, one which hasn't been released in Australia and one which was kind of around for a while, but they're both the last two pieces to Menasaur. And Dead End, who had been available for like $40 on Amazon for a while, just seemed to completely disappear off the face of the planet. And I couldn't find him anywhere. And I was like, well, that was kind of silly. Like, he had been released for a while. I should have probably picked him up when I had the chance, but I was waiting for this like magical moment when he was going to get cheaper. And then when I noticed that he disappeared, Breakdown, who wasn't even released yet and hasn't been released in Australia via Amazon and is now pushed back to the 29th of April, which is a few days from now, also just completely vanished, like as a pre-order, as anywhere else. And then they both kind of like showed up on other places around the net and they're like $85. It just kind of gave me this little freak out of like people that are like looking to create classic example with a combiner, because if you're missing out, I mean, when I was young, I didn't have Blue Lion. I had all the rest of Voltron, but no Blue Lion, and that was annoying because I couldn't find him anywhere. And it's like the same example. Luckily, this version of Motormaster comes with a truck that kind of, as we saw, you don't even need the arms and legs and everything to complete him. You just stand there and he's still a kind of big robot, and it doesn't matter if you're missing guys, because with Voltron, I had a one-legged Voltron, like an amputee Voltron. He used to stand there with Yellow Lion and then no Blue Lion, and how's that supposed to defeat Row Beasts? You got no chance. So, because both of these things were no longer available on Amazon, I bought both of them for like $80 and $85, and one was from an American Amazon and one was from Taiwan. I don't think they make Transformers in Thailand. And at the same time, I was like, oh, Shrapnel's gone as well. Shrapnel being an Insecticon, one of two Insecticons that have been released in Legacy, but as you can see, it's Legacy Evolution. And I just started thinking about all of the things that were kind of like sets that people would want to try and complete, which Amazon might then remove from the site and somehow manipulate the market, which I'm sure they have no reason to do, because why would they care if other people are paying more money for things that they don't have on their site? They put it back up and it's like a normal price. Like, Breakdown has appeared again, as I said, but he's not released yet on Amazon, and who knows what's going to happen, because he might disappear again and then he might be like, whatever. Anyway, I solved the problem. I got them all. I was having sleepless baths over it, and eventually I was just like, nah, gotta do it. Ended up being a bit silly and sort of bankrupting myself a little bit. Also picked up some core class Dinobots, which are also combiners, and sort of made sure that I pre-ordered the right ones and stuff so that I'll end up getting all of them, because that'll be another one that'll disappear, I think. I'll tell you a story about that later, which is not tonight. But anyway, so Shrapnel is an Insecticon. There is Kickback. He is a grasshopper. You will see that he has two tiny little friends with him. One of them will be shelf swapped tonight, which is kind of exciting. But yeah, I wouldn't have got this guy when I did, but I now feel like, I don't know, they got me. Something that's dangerous. It's a dangerous world out there for Transformers collectors. I told myself, there's no point being stressed over something you enjoy. And the only way that I could get rid of the stress was to spend too much money and fix the problem. But anyway. So, here we have what I believe is my first Legacy Evolution figure. And you will see a different spine. You'll also see that they are bragging about their plastic-free packaging now. There is no plastic window. I mean, it's a weird little selection of guys we've got happening here. We've got someone who they recently kind of just announced is the Armada Optimus Prime, who's been released as a commander class. He's got a lot of extra guff. You've got this face here, which is the Decepticon symbol, but is also Tarn. Then you've got Leo Prime, who was from a Beast Wars 2 cartoon. There's Needlenose that I was talking, or is it Skyquake? Yeah, Needlenose being the target master and there's a little dude standing on top of him. Or is it Skyquake with Needlenose standing on top of him? Who knows? And then you've got some Dinobots, which are core class Dinobots, and some new Junkions, which will be pretty fun, I think, when I finally decide to get them. I did freak out and try and pre-order them too, but then I kind of went broke and I had to get rid of them, so they're not here. And then we have some artwork, some Shrapnel artwork. I'm curious, Kickback was in Legacy, Shrapnel's in Evolution. I'm assuming Bombshell's going to turn up in whatever the next iteration of this toy line is. Legacy, I don't know, what's another word? Legacy Arrival, Legacy Transformation, Legacy Continuum. Continuum, let's go with Continuum, that's a guess. He has an Evo Fusion gimmick. I have no idea what that is. I think it's anything. Word, just silly words. And then there he is on the front. And here is the guy he is replacing. This is Shrapnel. Got a feeling he's a Titans Return figure. Kickback was, is that right? One of them turned up in Thrilling 30. I think that was Kickback. And then I'm pretty sure Bombshell was Power of the Primes, so I think this is a Titan Returns. Could be a Combined Wars, I can't remember. But anyway. There were some cool Insecticons for a while there, while they lasted. Bombshell is missing. It's not Bombshell, Shrapnel. There's a beetle that does that. What are those beetles called? It's probably just going to be beetle is my guess. Ah, he's a stag beetle. Turns into a stag beetle. Back in the good old AUS of A with just English, no Asian writing. Got a giant gun. I mean, I guess, see, Kickback has a gun too, but this guy seems to have quite a hand cannon going on there. And there he is, tied down like he's about to be, you can imagine. I mean, he could control lightning, I seem to remember. There's like these, like, just imagine Frankenstein on the table, and then the lightning hitting this. And then it's like, and you probably go, and the straps go. So they really are plastic-free packaging. We're back to the paper tires, as we mentioned a while ago. Got some little legs sticking through the back there, holding them in place. And he feels good. He feels, you know, I guess when they're kind of like this, they feel good and tight, you know. I went and saw Weird Al the other day. I was the only one in the audience going, yeah. Must have put the other I got the Insecticons out a while ago when we were looking at Kickback. And so I'm not going to do it now because they're in a cupboard that is blocked by boxes right there. So I can't. It's too hard. I'm sorry. But he feels good. I'm very happy with this guy. Let's find out what's in his little spider satchel packet. These are the hand cannons of goodness wrapped in tissue paper of happiness. I mean, I guess normally they would probably just have these in the blister pack of the packaging, so having them separate makes sense. But they all seem like a bit more, there's a bit more quality going on with their weapons. Look at that, different colours. Purple, silver. And they got these two identical purple guns, which do not join together, even though they have little plugs, which suggest the same light. Do they plug on the side of this? No. Now, what is Evo Fusion? Does anyone know? I don't. But they have done away with the translucent weaponry, which is cool. It's about time. That was dumb. That was a dumb gimmick. I didn't like it at all. Especially when they turned Eject into a half-translucent monster. That is cool. I'm glad I paid an extra amount of money to make sure that I got this guy. Me again, with my giant glass. See, continuity, you can watch it's going down slowly. That is delicious, I have to say. Wish it had some tequila in it, but that wouldn't be a Bloody Mary, would it? That would be, well, that's a Virgin Mary. So now we are going to transform Shrapnel into his bug mode. So we remove the guns. Now this should all be pretty basic, but let's see what the instructions have to say, shall we? We will be doing this in 11 steps, people. So our first item of the day is to fold these grey sections over the head. And get rid of the head. We'll then take the feet and we will fold them down. We'll then spin the torso. So now he's not facing us anymore. Now we have to reduce the legs. So we will take this flap at the back of the legs here and we'll collapse that down over the top of the groin. And then you've got a little tab in there that'll clip into place like that. We will now spin around to here. We'll take our hands and we will fold them in like that. And we will take, which way is the question? There's tabs all over it. We got a little tab there, we got some tabs there. What does it want to do? There we go, that way. It's the most satisfying clicks and clunks. Clunk clunk. We're running out of things to do now. So let's do this. That. Fold out these legs here. And there is a very, very basic, but the Insecticons always were basic. And you've got a lightning channeling bug. Not sure what we can do with these guns here. What does it suggest? Seems to suggest we stick the guns in these underarm holes here. Not sure if this is what we did with the original Shrapnel or not. And then we take our gun here and stick it in there. So there's weapon storage for Shrapnel. Cheers to that. Pretty sure I would have mentioned that he, as you know, this is the thing when you've done an Insecticon and then you do another Insecticon. First episode they turned up in was a plague of Insecticons. They can create more of themselves. Yeah, so he looks cool. They look cool together and I can't wait for Bombshell. I mean, it makes sense that he's got these translucent wings. These things here that I've got plugged onto him are stupid and probably shouldn't be there because they just look dumb. But we now have one lonely, tiny Bombshell. Maybe he's just standing further away. What do you reckon? Force perspective? It is cool that they've got these translucent sections here because the old dudes used to have those, the original G1 figures. And what do we have going on here? Do we have anything? They seem to be done with the wrist swivel. I haven't seen anyone with a wrist swivel for a long time. And as I mentioned a while ago, the ball joint world seems to be gone as well. So we're all on some fairly permanent kind of hinges now. Because we're not really making children for toys. We're not really making toys for children anymore. We're making toys for adults. 40+ year old dudes. like me. See, as soon as Bombshell turns up on Amazon, I will be pre-ordering it straight away. $40, I don't care. And this guy's now a bit cheaper, but you gotta pick and choose your battles, and I decided to lose. All hail mighty Amazon. Just realized, what happened to the days of our tiny papers? They're gone. What did the tiny papers mean? They were always in a different language, so I couldn't tell what the hell they were about. But it does seem strange that now, I wonder if it's like, contains plastic in the packaging. And now there's no plastic in the packaging, there's no more need for the tiny papers. It's not true. It's not what it's going to be at all. So I'm going to open one more dude who Amazon supplied to me on special. So, oh! But also, he was in the original Trump lineup. Here we have Crankcase. I wonder why he was in the original lineup, whatever. I was so clever. I was so clever with my Inferno and my Jolt and my Crankcase and my Breakdown and my Dead End. Why couldn't I, you know, because I didn't want to tell a story. I didn't want to tell a story about a man who was going to jail. Hasn't happened yet. It might not happen. Who knows? Alright, so who is Crankcase? Crankcase is no one. Crankcase was originally a Triggercon and didn't appear in any cartoons, and I'm assuming is in some comics somewhere, but really I know nothing about him. He was released in the Legacy line, not the Evolutions line, and will probably be the second last Legacy figure that I open. You will be like, hang on a minute, that's not correct in a while, but then you will know why, because I'll explain it. I have one thing to say about Crankcase, and that is that in Dark of the Moon, he was way cooler. Here is Dark of the Moon, Chaos Marine Crankcase, who had these awesome dreads that are sticking up like he's in zero gravity. They released a Studio Series version of this guy and he was awesome. He's one of the dreads in Dark of the Moon, who was one of 3 Decepticons that were dispatched to take down Sentinel Prime. And there was a cool scene on a freeway where they were chasing him. There were 3 SUVs, they looked like Secret Service SUVs or something, and it was an exciting scene in the movie, and then everyone died. Where Ironhide met his demise by Sentinel Prime, by the way, not one of these knobs. But yeah, they're just brutal, awesome looking dudes. And they happened to name this one Crankcase. And then there was another one called Hatchet, and I can't quite remember the third one's name. But Hatchet actually was like a dog. And Crankcase is just a weird scythe machine. Look at him. Chariots of scythy fire and dreadlocks, and had like a kind of jaw. It was cool. And that's... Isn't it cool that he's also named Crankcase? Because look, there he is. He's a retool of Skids. Because Skids was a little Jeep like that as well. But that's, unfortunately, the name and the fact that he turns into a little black SUV is where the similarity ends, friends. It would be one of my aims to try and get those guys, the Wreckers and the Dreads from Dark of the Moon are cool, and to try and track them down in a Studio Series light. Shiny nose. I thought it was a pimple for a second. It's not. It's a shiny nose. Look, shiny nose. Yeah. And this guy was like $27, which is stupid when you think about it, because that just sounds like what things normally. They used to be $25 from Kmart. Kmart's been letting me down a lot. Actually, there was. Sort of watch. Mick made me this for my arthritis that I kind of might have, but probably don't. But it's cool. Why not? I don't know if I was wearing it last time you saw me in this particular video or not. Who knows? Anyway, here is Crankcase. There is a picture of him as his vehicle. There is a close-up of him looking a bit confused, I think. And there he is with some guns. And as I said, Legacy. Why? Oh, I don't know. You know, I wanted to redecorate. You know, a couple of throw pillows, a TV news reporter. Why do you think? What is going on here? What is the pattern? There is more plastic. Plastic tie-downs. Maybe it's packaging can kill. This is a certifiably deadly packaging note. There's some nice art of Crankcase. And here he is. And man, he's a chunky looking dude. Look at him. I don't know if Skids looked like that when he turned up. But he's a retool. So I have a feeling that maybe he's got chunkier arms. I like the fact that he's blue, but really, he's black. That's kind of cool. I don't know if anyone else got this fun bit of... Can't tell. Maybe they did. I swear it's the first time I've seen that. Look at whatever that is. That looks like the front of a car. Why is that separate? Is that a gun? That's not a gun. That's a gun. Which is different to Skid... Oh, no it's not. It's the same as that gun. It's not the same as that stupid looking thing. I mean, Skids' detail is molded onto his front, whereas this guy, probably just to have a different front, has got that instead, and then at some point in the future this will plug into somewhere there. We could do it now if we wanted to, and destroy the whole look of the guy. Is that what he's supposed to look like? No. But why not? Why wouldn't you want him to look as much like a car as possible? Maybe I will. Who knows? Me again. Time to crank a case. Let's remove the gun and look at the instructions and see what the instructions tell us. We're doing this in 14 steps. Another fairly basic legacy transformation. So the first step we've got here, and this is a Skids re-techo, remember? Not sure if I'd coined the phrase, see? Hence the time traveling. Re-techo, a retool and a redeco. Fold these down. We then take our myriad of tabs and holes and snap all of this together. Well, I say snap, I really just mean squeeze tightly. Oh look, the wheel came off, good. Here we go. So all of that is now joined together. Then we take the back section here and lift that all the way up. Swing it, if you will. And you can see that the head here wants to go down. I'm not sure if we should do that right now. Let's do that now, shall we? We will then bring the arms down. And you can see that we've got wheels there. So there must be, we've got this assemblage here that looks like it will just fold in nicely if we push this in this way. There you go. And now you've got your wheels where they should be. See it this from this angle this time. And just push them down like that. Doesn't appear that there's anything to really tab into there. Kind of flopping in the breeze, these arms. We've now got the dilemma of too long a truck. As often happens, we have to figure out a way to reduce this gap. So if we pull this back up again, we'll see that if we manipulate this groin in and around, manipulate this groin, funny concept. There you go, push that in there, and that will fix our problem. It'll make the roof meet up, push our arms back down again, and now we fold it all around. There you go, we've got our tiny little buddy, tiny little crankcasey buddy, little black speed wagon. Oh yes, actually, look, we've got a hover car, so we better bring those out. Complete the look. Plug his gun on top. And we don't want to forget the front. So we plug that in. Finally, it has a place to be. And yes, obviously, it's quite important. My pissed self from the past will complain about this. But there you go. That's where it goes. Anyway, here is a very basic little car. As I said in the piss times, it's cool that the back is not symmetrical. Very basic. Black as night. And a bit of blue. There's a gap here. Seems a bit silly. Wish that gap wasn't there. Wish there was a way to hide it, but there is not. And we'll drink to that. I mean, that's alright. Oh man, I'm torn. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It doesn't matter because he just does not in the cartoon at all. Anyway, so we already know, based on previous experiences, this guy has a wrist swivel. thought we had a pattern emerging. We don't have a pattern emerging. We don't have anything emerging, do we? We're fucking, what are we? Nothing. We've got floppy legs. Like, compared to his mate, Shrapnel, they're probably not mates. Because what are your legs like? A lot stiffer. Yeah, quite floppy legs. There won't be much that you can do about that. Don't put him in the sandpit. But he's got a cool detail on the back where it's like a spare tire, which is not symmetrical. I suppose when you plug this together, which it looks like you do, you know, that's a nice touch. It's a nice little moment there where it's not just the same thing repeated. It's like unique sides. He's not symmetrical. Kind of like that. And then, as I was saying, like, so he's a retool of Skids. So he does have these like sections here, but Skids has doors that fully fly out like wings. And Crankcase has more of a, like a spoiler kind of deal. It's got the same gun, but it's translucent grey plastic. And this whole nightmare of a decision. I mean, what am I going to do with it if I don't put it there? I could put it on his back. That looks weird and dumb. It's a storage space, I guess. It plugs in. It's not really. It'll fall out at the drop of a hat. What do you think? Leave your suggestions in the comments section below. I'm going to put it on. Free toy inside. Free toy inside. You can't really. Look, that's the way it's supposed to go, and it kind of blocks his face. If it went the other way, it wouldn't matter. Except then, it looks weird. What to do? Anyway, there is Crankcase. And he has nowhere to live. He basically becomes a legacy shelf warmer guy who doesn't really have a shelf to live on yet. Just when you think you've got your life figured out, you get a Crankcase. Could that mean something? In 2016, just when you think everything's all figured out, you get a Crankcase. So yeah, to wind this out, I will open one more dude who will just be interesting and strange, and I won't be able to tell you much about him either. And now, as we spiral towards the end of Transformers Legacy, at least as far as I know at the moment, except for obviously not really, because there's going to be a Junkion at some point. And there will be two Junkions, and I think they're both Transformers Legacy, but they'll be Junkion. They're Junkion episodes. This is kind of like the end of the Transformers Legacy. And I've been dying to know what this guy is playing peekaboo about. It's time for a shot. This is a little bit of history here. This is once again a figure that I've had for a very long time. Don't pour the tequila in the beer. I feel like every time we say farewell to a figure from basically the Generations line, which is really all we're replacing these days, like Generations onwards, we probably should drink to them. So, I would like to introduce you to, and have you raise your glasses, to my friend Skullgrin. Now, you can tell by looking at him that he's damn cool. Look at him, he's covered in guns. He's got a sheep head. It's not a sheep head scepter, but he is a sheep's head. And, I mean, I don't know, actually, to tell you the truth. There's no shelf to swap him from because he's on a shelf of his own making. He's on the Generations shelf. But it's still worth drinking to him because he's been here for a while. So cheers to Skullgrin. Skull and Grin. So Skullgrin is a pretender monster, which turned up in their bestest form in... There's gunfire outside. They're shooting us. Oh my god. Stopped. Anyway. Super God Master Force was the show that he turned up in. And the idea behind Super God Master Force was that there were Transformers that created organic kind of shells, I guess, which is really just a silly gimmick for a toy that could have a little dude, a little robot, and then inside like a giant kind of shell, like a plastic two-piece Easter egg, Kinder Surprise, whatever the hell you want to call it. And on the Decepticons side, they had, well, they're all Japanese names. So there was a bat that was called Blood, I think. Hang on. So yeah, so you've got this guy here who was Blood, And that's his pretender shell, and then that's what his robot looked like. And then you've got Doros here, who was Skullgrin, and that's his guy. And then you've got Girma, who was Iguanus. And then it went on and on and on, and we're not going to get too much into it. There's a whole different thing. Please don't make me end up getting Iguanus and the other guy. Because the problem is, see, they haven't done any of the concepts of those kind of things justice. So this is Skullgrin. He is a robot that turns into a battle station tank thing. He has no dude inside him. When they did, I don't know, was it Titan's Return, Power of the Primes, one of their gimmicks was they released a whole bunch of little dudes, but they didn't have any shells. And now in Legacy, they've released core class scale shells with no robot. And they've just released a Metalhawk, who is the Autobot equivalent of one of these guys, that is just a Voyager class robot. So, I don't know if one day they're going to do it right. Like a perfect opportunity to combine, I don't know what you do with it, but they just haven't got it right yet. And for no reason at all, I decided, because Skullgrin being one of my first Transformers, that I would pick up the Legacy version of him, who also does not transform into anything and is like just... But as I said, we're rounding out the Legacy realm, and I'm pretty sure for a fact, like, this guy is awesome as a figure. A little off balance perhaps, but you know, it comes with so many little guns and stuff that you can plug onto all these little... The weapons have little clips on them, so they clip onto these. And they're also... There was talk a long time ago of this dude ending up being a battle station for what were called Legend class Transformers. So they would be able to use him as like a... You know. But anyway, not the most Rams looking head, but Ram enough. And now we have Legacy class Skullgrin, who has got something to hide, I think, by the looks of him. When I turn him around, he'll have these awesome horns. He's a bit cartoony. Yeah, he's got these giant legs and he's got a big head and everything, and it doesn't... It's just... As I said, they haven't done it right. They haven't done well. I mean, they did some great things with the Headmasters, which are from the same era, the cartoon called the Headmasters, where they have dudes that their heads come off and they turn into things. It's brilliant. Not so much here. So my guess is that this guy being strapped down by plastic is going to have a piece of paper. Beware the plastic packaging of Plastic Packaging Doom. For what is probably going to be the second last time tonight. That's not true. You'll see why, and it's silly. Legacy. Feels like we just started with Legacy, but we started with Blaster, really, for the Legacy world. And I think we Legacied on after that. There is the Battle Fortress that he turns into. Here is a mechanical... It's not really a sheep. It's a weird tusky... Do sheep have tusks? No. I don't know what this beast is supposed to be, but there he is there, with a giant sword, which is actually a gun. And I can't, oh, it seems like he's got a sword and a gun here, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to not killing myself with a knife. Ah, come on. It's not very sharp, this knife, these days. Seems that leaving a knife behind a bookshelf for a year and a half is not the best thing for its blade quality. It'd be a real highlight, wouldn't it? Once I run out of Transformers. Ah, no, what have I done? I have a feeling that this guy's going to be the closest thing to an action figure that I've actually opened up since I started making these videos, and probably since I started collecting Transformers again. I mean, he looks like he transforms, I guess. He's got a cool skull bolt. He's got a cool skull belt. See, Mick, I can correct myself as well. So here he is. Still blissfully unaware that the world awaits him. Chunky as a chunky man can be. Ooh, arrows. But the problem is, like, I don't know, what are they thinking? Like, it's like they really think we're kind of idiots. Are there people, I mean, and maybe I will become one, but are there people out there that are like, oh yeah, we'll get Skullgrin, he's the right scale, and then we'll pick up the other two, which are tiny, and then we'll put them on a shelf and we'll do the thing where we'll stand, he's far close up and they're standing far away or whatever, I don't know, like what I tried to do with Shrapnel. And then Metalhawk is Voyager class, and they haven't released any of the others, and they probably won't. This guy, I am told, transforms. Alright, so what do we got here? I reckon we're going to have not much of anything. That's not going to turn... Nope, that just comes straight off. So there's nothing going on there. It just... Wow. It's a hand that's supposed to fold in, which doesn't even look like it's going to make it all the way without coming off. And now I have managed to fold it in. I wonder if it'll come out again. Boo! That's crap. Falls off. Silly. Alright. And I've got these chunky legs. He was on special, by the way, when I bought him from, I think it was Target or something. It was like 15 bucks. He has an elbow bend. He pivots outwards at the shoulder and then around. His feet do nothing. His legs bend backwards. And he spins at the thigh. He has tank treads, as does this Skullgrin, who is awesome. The engineering of this guy is amazing. He was a bit of a pain in the ass to transform, I seem to remember. This guy, probably not going to be a pain in the ass to transform. 20 steps, apparently. You can see he's got these giant cannons on the back. Alright, ready? This is like the highlight of the whole opening, I think. Like, is he playing hide and seek? What's he doing? You've counted to 1,000,000. It's finally time for you to see the world that awaits you. Wow, they've really wrapped his head wrapped in plastic. Alright, you ready? Look at that face. Maybe that's why it's covered. Terrifying. Children, come on. No one wants that. I was like, Mummy, Mummy, can you buy me the tank with the funny white head that looks like a bit of a skeleton? They get home and they're like, oh my god, I'm terrified. Mummy, Mummy, I want to sleep with the light on, and can you put the naughty man in the box in the corner? Ah, man, metal as. Nice skull pads, sculder pads, and these cool sculder shin guard, what are they called? Hip guards, and this nice skull on the groin. A skull crutch. Let's look at his giant cannons of cannony doom. Ah, okay. So 2 identical swords that are both guns, if you hold them the right way, which is that way. But I like them better as swords, I think. Everyone loves a good bolt gun with a blade attached to it. Seems to be all the rage these days. But all we can do is we can give him a sword and a gun, which is what they've done on the packaging, in the artwork. Looks like he's about to make sushi or something, but... Ah! How much does his head move? He can look that way, and he can look that way. Can you look down? You can look up. You'd be like, get rid of these guns, and just have him looking up. There. And I'm assuming that when he's doing that, his guns are supposed to be down anyway. Oh no, they're straight up in the air. Better be. Look at that, that's silly. How many horns does one horny guy need? Horny guy. Horny beast. That's not better, is it? Me again. With my buddy Skullgrin! Look at him! Hey! Now, we all know the drill. It is the future. I have come back in time to show you the transformation of Skullgrin. As I said, when I first did this, I did not use the instructions. I did use Prime versus Prime to find out the last little tidbit, because there is one little trick that you have to do here with the groin. I'm glad I'm sort of hiccuping a bit. I sound a bit pissed, but really, I'm just on my good old tomato juice. He was mentioning that he didn't really like the tank mode all that much. I think it was alright. So I'll let you decide. So here we go, transforming Skullgrin in 20 steps. Now so far in my experiments, I believe that nutting it out is a lot more straightforward, but obviously nutting it out and filming it is not so interesting. And the fact that I'm always pissed when I do this makes that even less interesting, because I'm not as with it when I'm pissed, obviously. So now we're following the instructions, and what I've found so far is in following the instructions, it has been harder to figure out what to do than to just try and figure out what to do. So our first step here is to fold away his tail, which I'm not sure if Pissed Me has talked about the fact that he has a little tail, but he does. And the first thing we do is fold it up. The second thing we do is we take his hands and we fold them back into his arms. Like so. We then take his gun turret and fold this out. Oh, or pull it off. No, it says to fold them back. So I guess we keep them for the transformation here, even though it might be easier just to take it off. We'll take the arms and we will spin them around 180 degrees. Like that. Which is not really what the picture looks like. Let's make them look like that, because that's what the picture looks like. And then you've got these tabs on the outside, so I think that's probably more likely. We then send him back to sleep. Yes, I do remember what Pissed Me was talking about. Back to Nine Eyes. Lift up the like I just did. Lift up the head. Bring the chest piece out. And fold it down. How do you fold it down without bringing the whole chest up? Is that even possible? Actually, no. I've got ahead of myself. I haven't turned the page yet. Turn the page. Now, we push this whole section down, which will conceal the head. We've got these little horns here too, which need to fold back around. Which I'm not sure if the instructions told us to do that, but we will do it. And then we will close this over the top. So we now have a head buried down here. We now lift the arm assemblage up. So you see that, it will do this. Man, this thing coming off, it's annoying, I tell you. Put it back on there. Let's do it from here. We've got little handles here, let's push it. There we go, that's better. Let's do that. We now take the arms and lock them together. Because we've got the two little tabs here. And they will lock in at the back like that. Now this is a tricky bit. This is what stumped me the first time. So what you want to do here is to reduce the length of the tank. You need to take this groin section here and push that back under there like that. So that that is tucked under there. And it feels all kind of wrong, but it's because of all those rubbery sections. So I've ended up with something like that. So our next step, we're going to take these treads, disengage them, like that. And then what we want to do is we want to take these feet here and just fold that back like that. So they are now like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to take these legs and we're going to lift this over to shorten the tank. As you can see, like that. And then there's a little tab there. They'll tab together. Now we take the white sections of the treads, fold this back here, and then we want to take the treads and spin them up, and you'll notice a little groove there, a little tab there, and that will tab in. You've also got some little tabs in the legs there and grooves that will lock in place there as well. Now the thing that holds this all together is the swords. So we take the swords and you'll see this groove here and this hole here. We plug it into there and then we plug that groove there. We take the other sword, do the same thing. And there you have something that a lot of people think is shit, but I actually don't hate it. Boyd has a soft spot for Skullgrin. You know, complaints have been made that there's no wheels or anything for people that want to push it along the ground. But I mean, if you've got a flight base, it is a hover tank after all. And I do like the way that the swords hold it all together. Like, it's quite a tricky transformation, really. But once again, it is worth a swig of Vino Red. Blood. Non-bloody Mary. So there you go. I will now return you to your regular scheduled pissed past program. Alright, him or him? What do you reckon? Who looks more like a Transformer? Who looks more like a weird toy from the mid-90s that really did nothing except for be a toy, chunky toy? Well, I can see him, because I can, even though we're talking about him, but we're not really anymore. Skullgrin was a retooling and a redeco of this fellow, Darkmount. You can see a lot similar there, similar weapons. Different head, different decos, basically exactly the same except for that. You're gonna fall now. So I say Darkmount, I meant to say Straxus. That's probably why he fell off the thing. Both from the Transformers Generations line, the original... What am I doing? I don't know. And these are some great figures, some wonderful fingers. Like, the detail on them is pretty amazing. The amount of accessories they had also quite astounding. Obviously kind of a bit hard for them to stand up and everything, but Anyway, I'm glad I get to show you these guys because they're cool. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. They better not, but if they do, I might do it just for the hell of it. If they retool him into Straxus, because they basically do turn into the same battle station fortress thing, I might get them just for the hell of it. Anyway, it's been a bit of a lackluster journey through the old Legacy line so far. I mean, we got some awesome, some quite awesome dudes in the Commander class and the Leader class line. And it was great to get Inferno. But I mean, as we gaze upon our collection here, so no first season G1 Autobots in the Legacy line. We got 2 Insecticons out of first season G1. We got a Skids. We got Blaster. Blaster's the highlight, I think. We got this Elite 1. And that pretty much rounds out the second season Autobots for G1. We got Blitzwing, who is awesome. And yes, as we will see, we completely replaced our Stunticons. No one came to play for the Autobots in season 3 or 4. And it's basically the same with the Decepticons. So then we look at Crankcase and Skullgrin over here, and the Prime editions. So we had an RC and we had a Knockout, and we had a Bulkhead. So that was Prime. Armada, they have released a hotshot. There's Armada Starscream, which isn't open. Beast Wars Inferno was the only one that joined us. Oh, and Tarantulas, actually. Who were both long-awaited additions to the Beast Wars section, the Beast Wars crew. They gave, actually, well, technically as well, because the Velocitron 500 line was part of Evolution, part of Legacy. We did get Cosmos out of it, so that was great. And there's a few more dudes to come in the Evolution side of it, but as far as Legacy goes, we have one more thing to open, I think. And you'll say that's not correct, but then, as I said, I will correct you, and then we'll be on the same page. Oh yes, and let's not forget Transmetal 2 Megatron, who was a Beast Wars figure, and G-Haxus, our original Angry at Trump opening figure. So having said that, it's worth mentioning that as far as the Legacy line went, we are one shy in the Deluxe world. Autobot Point Blank, who may or may not turn up at some point in the future, but he'll be as important to me as Crankcase. I haven't seen him in any shops. Kmart only had Skullgrin. In that last wave, which was supposed to be Point Blank, Skullgrin, and Dead End, they only had Skullgrin, and there was probably someone else. I was just looking at it. You'd think I'd have a better memory than that, wouldn't you? I guess this stuff does rot your brain. Alright, so we're getting into a slightly exciting time now, in as much as sometimes you go to work and you dread the day, and then the day is over and you're happy that it's finished. That's a bad analogy. It's a real bad analogy. Happy as if you thought you had COVID and then you didn't, which won't make you happy, but anyway, what am I trying to say? Here's Dead End. Here is a Transformer that should have cost me 40 bucks and instead cost me a couple of sleepless nights in the bath and $85. And all because of that. Being part of a combiner. And I hate the fact that now I'm going to be on the lookout for this problem, because it shouldn't be the way it is. Like, we're just people trying to buy toys. You know, you think back in the day, like my brother, for example, he thinks that buying Transformers is as easy as buying Transformers. But it's not. And I used to think that I was right and he was wrong. And now I know that he's wrong, because this was a fucking nightmare. You know, I remember when Misfire didn't turn up, and I just thought to myself, well, that's here nor there. He wasn't a very popular character. But then the same thing happened with... Oh, no, that's not true. Brainstorm was actually a unique release, I think. I don't know where he came from or why he was released as a... He wasn't in a wave, I don't think. Is anyone keeping up with me? I'm trying to talk about things that I thought were going to turn up in the shops and didn't. Really, it was just those two. But I'm pretty sure that at the time I was like, well, I've got a Brainstorm. It's just his Voyager class and the rest came out and they weren't. And, you know, it's a problem. You want them to look good on the shelf. And now they do. Look at them. Oh, that's not them. There they are. Wonderful. Makes me happy. And this will make me happy too, I think. And it will be a true shelf swap once again. This Dead End is going to look way more cartoon accurate than the Dead End that I'm replacing. So that's a good thing too. When it came down to it, to complete a combiner, it cost me an extra $80, which isn't the worst thing in the world, I guess. Just at the time I was quite broke and I'm spending too much money on comics these days. But anyway, here is the long-awaited Transformers Legacy Dead End. Who transforms into a Porsche 928. I know nothing about cars, but I know that that's what he transforms into. As I said earlier, it's not a licensed Porsche. But no, Dead End is like he's a vampire, basically. The idea of him is that which is a new idea in a way that's not Ida Buttrose magazine. He's a bit dead inside. He's not a vampire really, but he's sort of scary. He's a shambler. Let's see what the book says about him. There you go, he's a bit of a nihilist. He's got a saying here that says, "We are all just food for rust." So he's basically an emo. And the thing that's interesting about this is that Dead End obviously lost his way a little bit, because if we look at... Oh, nah, not quite actually. I'm lying. See, this figure here still has a mouth covering, and then this here does not, which was the Dreamwave era. He's pessimistic. Alright, so they're saying that he's pessimistic. So he's Eeyore. I'm trying to think if there was any other transform. I mean, Gears. Gears is a bit of an Eeyore. They are releasing a deluxe class Beachcomber, which is going to be exciting because Beachcomber is a cool character. And it means that they're getting closer to having proper versions of the original few minicons from Series 1 and 2. And we're getting a Brawn as well. Like, we're getting a Studio Series Brawn, like animated movie Brawn. Which is a shame that he wasn't around earlier because I could have used him for my Instruments of Destruction special. Anyway, when they first released the Stunticons in the Combiner Wars line, they took great pleasure in omitting... Actually, they did it with all of the combiners. Like, every single combiner has a replacement, and I do not know why. So, Superion ended up having a guy called Alpha Bravo, who was just a helicopter that the aerial bots never had. These guys ended up with a SUV called... something stupid. What's his name? The Protectobots ended up with a SWAT carrier called Rook. The Combaticons were all good. There was no extra Combaticon added. And the Technobots got away scot-free as well. So for some reason they just did it with the Protectobots, the Stunticons, and the Aerial Bots. And yeah, so you could, if you track them down, pick up a Groove, who was the motorbike with the Protectobots, and replace Rook with him, so that you ended up with a proper Defensor. And then you could get who I'm pretty sure was Dead End. So Dead End is been problematic twice to me, actually, I just realised. What's the name of that stupid car? Where is he? Maybe if I find him and look at him I can figure it out. Pretty sure his name's Off-Road, and this is him. Who is basically just... They retooled this guy into Ironhide so that he could combine as well. And he's also Red Alert. But it's a bit different, I guess, because Red Alert has an axe so that he can hack into cars and save people. Not Red Alert. What's your friggin' name? First Aid? He's an ambulance. And then, yeah, so they're basically, you know, you can see pretty similar kind of dudes. Off-Road. I'm gonna go with Off-Road. Why are we talking about Protectobots? One day I will maybe do some kind of special combiner special. I'm gonna have to do a lot of practice if I'm gonna drink as much tequila as I normally do because it's a fucking nightmare if I don't. But this one can almost be a bit of a request fest for Eden, who did want me to do a combiner special, and I think I'm trying to get there. I don't know how I'm going. I've only had 2 shots of tequila so far. I've got 2 Transformers left to open, and then I have to try and figure out how to attach them to Menasaur over there. And then, Eden, you will have your episode on this auspicious day that isn't the day that it started out being. Here is Dead End. He's a perfect example of who not to be. I was going to say don't be hard to get, but that's not right, is it? No, he's talking to a young child. Always stop and smell the roses. Hang on. There's some art. Stop and smell the art. There is Dead End. I mean, he looks like he's locking himself away. He's like Tommy. You know, can't see, can't hear, locked behind his wall. He's like Pink in the Wall, which is a movie about the wall by Pink Floyd. And I'm pretty sure the guy's name was Pink. Or for those in the know, Bob, because he was played by Bob Geldof. Oh my god, this thing, why didn't it open properly? Oh no! Ah, fuck! That was silly, I'm joking a bit. Just, this if I ever needed to resell, no, I'm not reselling anything, go away. Now, my supposition, plastic card. See, really all it says is, warning, choking hazard, small parts, not suitable for children under 3. And there's a bunch of things about it here. Maybe, as time goes on, with the arms and stuff not being able to pop off anymore, so maybe that's part of the reason. I mean, I don't reckon, hang on. So here he is. Eeyore. Brown Eeyore. Pessimistic or chunky legs. Now I was curious because for some reason in the instructions of the other two that I've opened so far, it did not show you how to add them to Menasaur. But in Menasaur's instructions, it showed how to add those two. But not these guys. So, here we go. Is that all we get? Shadowy Doom. Just attach him. Break him in half and attach him. By the end of the night, we're going to have a Menasaur. And we're going to have got to the end of whatever this was, so that I don't have to re-record it and edit it, because this is my most unique costume yet. Not just chucking on another t-shirt, people, and making sure the beard's the same. Stumpy guy. Nice paintwork, gotta say. I think of all the Stunticons, I like Dead End's paintwork the best. I mean, Dragsuit's just a bit too yellow. Wild Rider's pretty cool. I feel like he's not transformed properly. Look at that. Don't reckon his feet are backwards, are they? I mean, obviously that's how he becomes a car. But look at those stumpy feet. They do that. He seems tiny compared to his brethren. He's a Porsche. Does that mean anything? His legs are a bit floppy. Oh, actually, hang on. So there he is, and there he was. These Stunticons are also giving me pause for thought, as are the Prime releases. Because I just think that, I don't know, they just seem kind of more cool and unique and lankier a little bit. Different kind of combining, obviously. Like you can see here that this comes off. You can see here that this folded down there, and then that became something that the hands plugged into. And the hands were stupid and the feet were stupid. They were really fucking stupid. I've got a jar of them here. I feel like I'm on a cooking show now. I don't know if I've showed you this before. I probably have when I was comparing them to the Japanese release of King Poseidon. But I mean, look, that's the hand. One giant thumb and then 4 fingers, which I guess is how a hand works. So that's that. If you use your imagination, a hand can become a foot. And that's what we had with the Combiner Wars figures. We had variations of things, and it was all a bit silly. But now we've got these brilliant hands and feet going on with this Menasaur shell over here. So here are his guns. Purple and black. No hand movement whatsoever. They are locked in. They are molded to the arm, people. We bend at the elbow. We swivel up at the shoulder. We bend at the knee. And we bend out at the hip. We look down. No. We look up. No. We look from side to side. Yes, we do. This guy? Up? A little bit. No. Down. Oh, decline a bit. Wrist swivel. No. Folds in though. Ooh, and a ratchet. So, I mean, if you look at his legs compared to his other legs, he's always been a chunky-legged guy. But more grey in the plastic here and more black. And once again, I did take Wild Rider over here, our friend Wild Rider, and give him the old Wild Rider's pipe. Just to give him a bit of something going on. But I don't know, Dead End, does he get a pipe? Or does he get 2 guns? Or does he get 1 gun? I don't know, it's too hard to figure out. So after much gnashing and wailing of teeth, wailing and gnashing of teeth, we have... It looks more like a tape player than anything else, really, but a replacement foot, Dead End. Nice Decepticon insignia, tiny, on his front of his tape window. I mean, this guy's insignia is quite small as well. behind the pipe that you can't really see. I mean, I guess my dream is slowly coming true of being able to have a representation of the Stunticons, which is still kind of a cool representation in robot form. And then the ultimate version as Menasaur, who will look way cooler than the Menasaur that these guys were. And I do have a very expensive car robot that was released years and years and years ago, before they released Combiner Wars. I picked up a Devastator, you know, and each dude was like $80 and, you know, pretty realistic in both forms and cool as a dude. And I picked up a Superion and I picked up a Menasaur. And Menasaur was, and these are third party, Menasaur is way smaller but way more expensive. Like, not to scale, I was pretty upset really. And Motor Master cost like $200, which is stupid, but considering that this Motor Master cost $140, it's not that stupid. But at the time it was. And that was terrifying. His trailer was just a brick. And I guess these guys, Hasbro, kind of were like, hey, that's a good idea. Let's use the trailer to make the base of the dude. Because I was unfolding this brick of a trailer and just shitting myself the whole way. Because it was like, I think it was like $220. And I was, you know, back then I had less and more money. So I had to figure that one out. I'm not going to be able to find him. He's in bits. He's falling apart. He's in a drawer somewhere. He's covered in dust. Yeah. Anyway. And then Hasbro, I mean, they were just starting to release, the same dudes that did Superion and the Constructicons were just starting to release Predaking. And I picked up a Lion, and because Predaking's a lion, I picked up Razorclaw. And because Predaking is supposed to be so much bigger than the rest of them, then obviously everyone is bigger. But it doesn't make any sense for the Lion to be bigger. It's fucking Voltron. Like, this dude was like this big. He's like the main body section, but he was, you know, the other dudes were kind of like that big, like Voyager class. And this dude was this big, and I was just like, this is just getting ridiculous. And then along came Hasbro and released all of the stuff that was already released except for Predaking. So Stunticons and Aerialbots were first off the list. And then, you know, within like a year we had Protectobots and Combaticons, and it was all good. Everyone was all happy again, I think. I could have spent way more. That was expensive, but, you know, whatever. There was no other option at the time. And they hadn't been with me for that long, so I'm not going to drink to that. I'm nearly out of beer though. Alright, I will have one more tequila. One more. I'll have another tequila. Oh, and I have to put Dead End on the shelf. And I can't remember, was it you or was it Wild Rider that wasn't released? It could have been Wild Rider. I know it definitely wasn't Dragstrip, because Dragstrip turned up in the first wave, along with some Aerialbots. Because that's what they did to us. They're like, here, have a bunch of Aerialbots and a Stunticon. And then have a bunch of Stunticons and an Aerialbot. Just fucking stop it, will ya? Stop fucking with us. We love the shit. Please just let us have our hobby. I know you're marketing it. I know you're manipulating us. But you're breaking children's hearts. I had to buy my nephew Oliver because I couldn't get all of what was required. I just got him like a couple Aerialbots, an Ironhide and a Hound or something, and an Optimus, and went, there you go. Make something out of that. It could have even been Scattershot. And you can, and that was great. They were interchangeable or whatever. But he looked at me and went, that don't look like no McDonald's. Because he knew. He was just like, the back of the box says, this is not a guy. And I was like, oh, just stop it, will ya? Oliver, still the best uncle ever at the time. Probably 2 more tequilas. And then 1 at the end. And don't let me have one before that. The reason for this tequila is because of this guy, the last of the Stunticons, and also a miracle that it's here at all. Doubles as a sponge. Where's the spillage? Oh, on this table, I've got to tighten some bolts. Cheers. That was a bit evil though. Alright. Breakdown. I can't remember if this guy was going to go before or after in the Trump order. Dead End, Breakdown, Breakdown, Dead End. It's almost the same thing. I guess Breakdown's first and then Dead End is the end. Although who knows what it's referring to? Is it his mental state? Maybe we had a Dead End, then we had a Breakdown or whatever. Here is Breakdown. He is a combination between a Porsche 308 and a Lamborghini Contact, which is what Sideswipe and Sunstreaker are, and Red Alert, and I think that's it. But once again, here is Breakdown. He is not released in Australia yet. At least he's not released on Amazon yet. And God knows if he's released in Australia, because they're not fucking releasing anything in Australia anymore, are they? I mean, his wave, oh, that's right. You heard me mention that this is the last, or that was, Dead End was, the last of the Legacy releases. And you're probably looking at me going, what's in your hand, you dumbass? Well, this guy was released in the first wave of the Legacy Evolution range, which was the next year. But because he's a Stunticon, and for all those box collectors that like to have all their boxes neatly lined up in a row, I don't know how you have that much room in the house and with the fucking Transformers, why would you do that in the first place? They decided to give him the Legacy packaging. So technically he is Legacy Evolution, but for some reason they bowed down to the analness of some people's analness. They bowed down to the analness of other people's analness. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't want to say ADD, but that's not right. It's not that, so I didn't say that. You would be fooled, wouldn't you, thinking that. You'd think I was the liar. Because look, the packaging is identical. They could have, you know, been like, well, box people will look at boxes from the front. They're not all going to be like that. You could have anything on the shelf if you're doing that, except that's the giveaway, isn't it? Look! Plastic-free packaging. This is why there's not going to be a white piece of paper in here, is my guess. Here is Breakdown. It looks like he's using part of his own door as a weapon. But I guess what's really happening there is it's the spoiler. And that's a pretty shit weapon, if you ask me. If that's his weapon, that's crap. I'm going to find a place to stick that as soon as I can. And it is not going to be up his ass. It's going to be on his back, I'm assuming. It does get to a stage where you start to realise, I'm pretty sure these guys, someone has to be redecoed from someone. But they're all pretty unique, I think, which is cool. Because no one else had a spoiler as a weapon. Dragstrip is incredibly unique. See, the thing is, what actually happened was that they redecoed these guys into the Velocitron 500 line. So a bunch of these guys turned up as redecos of GoBots and G2 Transformers. And that's where they got redecoed. That comes with a thing. I don't know why. Oh, because the others all had plastic in this cardboard. Is that how they hang on the shelf? I guess they did. I don't know Transformers that hang on shelves anymore because Kmart doesn't have any. Amazon, they just come in boxes like this. In boxes, inside boxes, and boxes. And the next day. So, you know, it's not all bad. They're releasing a thing called the Toxitron line, which is the same as the Velocitron 500 line. And I am very happy to say, because I'm not the richest person in the world at the moment, that I don't think I'm going to get any of that. Like, I ended up getting quite a bit of the Velocitron 500 line because they released Override, who's a character from Cybertron, and was a unique mold, and Voyager, and so I was like, I'll get that. Scourge, which we spoke about earlier, is now up there from Robots in Disguise. He turned up in the Velocitron line. I stupidly picked up another Blur because there was one at Kmart, and he's like redecoed to be more like the IDW comics. So I thought that would be cool for if I ever have like an IDW shelf, which I was trying to do, and then they didn't give me needle nose. The best thing they did for me was this guy, Cosmos, who was in the comic, the Wreckers comic that was on Velocitron. But he should never have been there. And so that's what I'm thinking, is that they might end up chucking some random cool character into the Toxitron line. Now, what is the Toxitron line? I'm glad you asked. The Toxitron line is some garishly redecoed dudes, which are supposed to look like G2 characters. And if I do pick up one, it will be the Toxic Transformer, who will be my second iteration of Laser Optimus Prime. That's what Scourge was redecoed from. Because I love the Toxic Crusader as a movie, except it's not the Toxic Crusader. I love the Toxic Avenger as a movie. And for some reason, years ago, fan publications or whatever just made a toxic transformer who was a wrecker. And the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm thinking he will end up in my collection. But everyone else is just like ridiculously colourful redecos. Like there's a Jazz, there's a couple of like some characters which are redecos of other dudes that I have no interest in because they were never like really in any comics or anything, and they just like look like someone spewed toxic waste all over them. So I'm wrong. I'm wrong about this. My theory is wrong. Can't even fling it because I'm so wrong. It's coming back up. It's like the diaper in Mr. Bean. But yeah, so one day you might see me open, but and it's that way Madness lies as well, because there's like redecoed Grimlock into like someone that looks like he's fallen into a bath of spray paint. Here we have another very frigid? Is that the right word? This just means someone didn't want to make it out. But he does look frigid, doesn't he? Maybe there's less freedom in paper ties. You need to be more as opposed to... But this is Breakdown, ladies and gentlemen, friends, Romans, countrymen. Wow, that is not even a... Yes, it is. It is a paper tie, but it's like a thin manufactured paper tie. There used to be like weird twisty ones. This is a flat ribbon of doom, which is hard to cut. I need a sharper knife. I wonder where they go next with their combiners. I wonder what the next line is. Do they just give us Menasaur? That doesn't make any sense. In Combiner Wars, which was 1 year, I think, it went Combiner Wars, Titans Return, Power of the Primes, and that was 3 different years. And in Combiner Wars, basically all the deluxes they gave us could combine. So we ended up with... Comichon was never released in the Combiner Wars line. He was as a massive box set, which I picked up. And also the female Autobots, Victorion, was also not individually released. But you got Aerobots, Protectobots, Stunticons, Combaticons, 4 combiners in 1 year. So far we have got a combiner in 1 and a bit years. So it does make me wonder. And you know, everyone was like, oh, Menasaur didn't look as cool as the rest. Exactly the same engineering. So I can't see how that can really be an excuse. Transformers experts and collectors. Yeah. This dude's a redeco of Wild Rider. I can tell because I can't get rid of his bonnet. His arms do not bend yet. Oh god. They do. They're tight. Ugh, real tight. And, oh, okay, so that's not a ratchet. In the thigh, groin area, it's quite tight. Yeah. But that pin will get looser, I think, as time goes on. So yeah, elbow bend, wrists do not spin. And then we've got our spider... I'm trying to think of the word. What is it? When a spider wraps something in a little parcel. Can't be spider parcel. So there's going to be a spoiler in here, and I'm sort of surprised, I guess that's part of the redeco, that there's no spoiler, or there was no spoiler for, or maybe there was and I just plugged it straight on and didn't see the fact that you're supposed to use it as a... Here's a gun. So if I was to plug this on him, so I'd have to go on his legs, which is dumb. That's not going to happen. I wonder if I did that. What did I do with it? Let's find out. Let's find out what past pissed me did with a piece of a Transformer. The terrifying answer might be nothing. I'm sure I didn't lose it. I'm sure I wasn't like, oh, there's a gun, throw the paper away. Pretty obvious. But I mean, we do have to find out what we're going to do with this, because it's friggin' stupid. And I can't find any way to put it, and I guess that's why they made it a weapon. So look, there we go, there it is, a weapon. A boomerang or something. Ugh, I hate it. Where are the instructions of the other guys? I have to figure out if I've made a hideous mistake somewhere along the line. Wild Rider does not have it. He's just got 2 guns, which I must have plugged somewhere else, or given to someone else, because he's only got 1. The plot thinnens. I don't know where it is, doesn't matter. Hopefully it's not involved in the transformation at all. Everyone's got 2 guns. Yeah, so here we go. I guess, actually, comes down to thinking about saying it and I will. Breakdown comes with a sword. So, there's his sword. I don't know, you used to get more plastic for your dollars, it seems. Oh, so your spoiler's neatly attached to your feet, which would have been great design choice, Hasbro, but no. Alright, so you can see blue and red faces, and then largely blue and white decos. Very similar kind of rear ends. And we have red bonnets. But yeah, even though this guy is a sleeker guy, one of my favorite sayings these days, a sleeker guy. It is funny to think that this guy, and I know it's inflation and we've had a pandemic and all that jazz, but this guy, who is unreleased in Australia and may yet cost people more than the Amazon prices advertising, is substantially less plastic involved in him. Maybe that's what we should be doing. Maybe we should be paying more for less plastic. That's an idea. Glass gets cheaper, buy plastic, costs more. Hey, I like that idea. Let's do it. Who do I call? Who do I talk to? Anyway, this sword. Does Breakdown have a sword? Will he even hold this sword? It'd be cool if he did, because I have been trying to reassign some weapons. But let's find out. Let's look in the book. Let's find out if Breakdown has a sword. And then let's find out a bit about Breakdown as well. No, Breakdown likes to hold one gun with two hands, apparently. Keep your optical senses to yourself. Paranoid? Ah, Breakdown is always paranoid about what others might be thinking about him. Nervousness and paranoia. Breakdown. I'm not a... I was gonna say, I'm not a woke... Wake up. I'm not a woke guy, but I am. But I hate the concept of it. I hate the idea that people have to be people and, like, you can't just be a person and without having to label the fact that you now can evolve your own thinking, and it gives too much fodder to dickheads that think that it's all about change, where really it's just about decency and learning to accept other people's new views on the world. So I don't know if Breakdown's a very good idea for a paranoid person in this year of our Lord 2023. You know, like, because panic attacks and stuff like that, that's kind of a breakdown. It shouldn't really be made fun of. But I mean, at the same time, they change names based on trademarks. And I would like to think that Breakdown would always get to be called Breakdown. So do you change his character traits? I don't know. Is this like a woke moment? This is why they call it woke. Because you realize things that you think have never been a problem, and then you kind of do suddenly realize they're a problem. Problems, chef. Problems. Anyway, there's Breakdown. And there's Breakdown. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this spoiler. I think it's one of the biggest tragedies of the Stunticons, this spoiler. I wish I could stick it somewhere. Hell, I probably can. Can I stick it here? No one will ever know. I'm gonna go there eventually. Oh, I can stick it there. Can you see that? Does anybody know? What is it? No one knows. You can't tell. I think I did it. I can't bend that leg now. Or whatever. Okay, fine. We have completed the Stunticons. Now it is time to complete Menasaur. And I dedicate this one to Eden Cornwell, who's been asking for a Combiner episode for a long time. And it's a shame that these aren't going out weekly and that I've got hours and hours of footage to put up, because it would be nice to be thinking like that you'd be able to see this next week, but I'm sorry, it might be like 2025 by the time you get to see this. Although this will be a fairly complete episode because it will have some transformations live in real time, as opposed to me going back and going like, oh here, blah 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 blah, and then transform, oh there he is, it's a car. Kynan, who also had a baby, congratulations. And Dan had a baby too. So there's babies everywhere, and Eden's not a baby, but she's a child of a friend, so that's kind of the same thing. And I did just say I wasn't going to have any more tequila, didn't I? Did I? I had one. I said I was going to have two, and then I was going to have one at the end. So I've had one. And I feel like we're about to embark on an amazing journey, and being pissed is not the best thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because we're going to transform some cars now, which will be fun. But this is where it always goes wrong. I'm going to go eat some chicken things. I'll be back in a minute. So now we have to take Breakdown and put him on the shelf as a shelf swap. And they're not accurate really, because we've got Motormaster there, who is the original Combiner Wars Motormaster, who we spoke about years ago, because he just looked like a chunkier dude, you know. And Motormaster is currently in his Menasaur frame mode. It's nice coming back to something. And he's got, you know, once again, weapons of his forebears. Because that black sword is nowhere near big enough for a guy of this size, this stature. We're going to have some guys here, which I think are going to be fairly easy, because it was kind of dumb. When the Stunticons first became Menasaur, they did just look like a bunch of cars just going gunk, 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 gunk. And I was like, really? I mean, Devastator looked like a robot that had elements of his Constructicon brethren as part of his robot form, whereas this guy looked like a dude made of cars. So I'm curious to see how we actually go here. Are we really just going to go two cars, and then apparently two of the limbs, the arms, you press a button, which I haven't found yet on these guys, and they like snap in half, which is a terrifying concept, really. But first of all, we will be transforming some cars and adding them to this guy. So this, I'm sorry to say, Eden, is not your traditional combiner. It's not your traditional Scramble City combiner, which was basically made up of one dude, then the other people plugged in around him. This is a guy that has got this whole frame going on, and I'm assuming this is why they made Motormaster. They probably could have done it with Hotshot, who is the main body of Defensor, and they probably could have done it with Onslaught, but they would have a hard time doing it with Silverbolt, even though he's a real long plane, Silverbolt being the main dude from Superion. And they've always, like, when they did the combiners, they were Voyagers. But you got a lot of trailer to play with here to make this kind of frame, so I can see why they did Motormaster first. Let's have Tequila, Mockingbird, and then we will go back to the beginning, as they do in Do, Re, Mi. We will start at the very beginning with Dragstrip. Now, Dragstrip is an arm. And these instructions are not very helpful. They basically say, take your Dragstrip and place him. It sounds like a Play School song. Take your Dragstrip and place him on your arm. So the first thing we have to do is transform Dragstrip into a car. Now I seem to have this memory that last time I tried to do this didn't work very well. So, instead of me trying to figure out how to do it without the instructions, let's just read the instructions and do it properly. And it won't be that hard, I don't think. So, we will remove his guns. And as I said, like, looking at him, he's so yellow. It would have been nice to have a bit more detail. He's basically yellow plastic with some silver bits. But the first thing that it's telling us to do is swing around these arm sections. Like that. Then we take the wheels and align them like that. See? We then take the whole front section and swing that down. So that comes undone and swings down like that. All the way down to his crotch. And I'd like to say we revealed some more paint work there, but we didn't because that was in his chest up until 10 seconds ago. Then we fold his head in. Like so. We then take his shoulder pads, spin them around. Like that. And then we separate that out. I'm guessing that we're going to end up like folding that up. And yeah, so then these pieces come up here. And they will become drag strips, can I even speak? Drag strips front end. I'll tab in like that, and we will have the front of a car. You'll also see if you look from behind, you've got these sections here that will tab in through that. Locked in. We'll then fold this section over. Will we? That doesn't seem right. Alright. Does this whole section spin around? Ah, there we go. So that'll spin around, and then that folds. Man, this is why we do this in real time, isn't it? So we can make ourselves look stupid. What the hell? Where does his head go? Okay, it's like a pivot here that then folds up and over, and then that will tab in there like that. Look at this, and there you go. There's your no. Then we rotate at the waist. And if I know my Transformers, there will be a hollow leg, and somehow we will figure out a way. See, look, I'm trying to not do it with the instructions now, and then it's probably going to all fail. So there's some kind of... I mean, because all of the instructions are going to do is tell me how to do that now. And that's where it always gets complicated. It's like, what? Oh, okay, so here we go. So that folds out, and it, on both feet. And then that will fold in. And so will that. And they will tab in there. See little tabs. We'll clip that back down. And then we've got a spoiler, which will fold up like that. Tabs in there. Look at that. That's amazing. We now have a drag strip car. And it does say that if you were going to, you know, they are Stunticons after all. Me, I love Transformers. Just think back to the cartoon. Stunticons, the whole point of them was that they actually could just bash into the walls and stuff, and they had no damage. They had force fields around them or something. And just thinking of that with guns and stuff as well. Guns and indestructible cars, you just, it's fucking cool. I'm sorry, I like it. I don't make these videos for nothing. Alright, so here we go. There is Drag Strip. I've got a little song in my heart now. Why do I do this all the time? I usually get too pissed. Oh, fucking hell. Alright, now Drag Strip goes onto Menasaur's arm. So if we get our friend Menasaur, and I guess what you have to do is extend an arm. So this is, it's his right arm here. We fold this down like that. Now apparently we can connect him on here. Let's see if that's true. So there's a lot of plugs and pegs here. We got a clip here. So I guess that will clip in there. Will that make sense? But then how does that clip in there? So they go there, because that's fairly obvious. But that doesn't make any sense. Are they not telling me the right thing? Where's the button that pops him apart? You told me there was a button that breaks the whole dude apart. And I'm not seeing your button, my friend. Let's see, we've got two plugs there. And that has to go there. See, this is why I'm showing you this, because otherwise you'll think I don't know what I'm doing. That seems to be fairly obvious, but for some reason, there's a section here that is stopping that plugging in. See, and I'm guessing that that clips in there. Unless his arm's not transformed right. That'd be a whole nightmare, wouldn't it? I've got to get rid of this hat now. Are his arms too long? No, that's right. Surely. See, what we need to do is figure out a way. Oh, does that fold? Oh. Alright, so do I stand corrected? Maybe his arms are supposed to be like that. Maybe I've had him wrong all these years. But still, that doesn't really help the situation, because we've still got a different level of clipping on each. See, the thing is, once we figure this out, it's going to be easy for the others. But now I'm regretting that shot. So he would be there, and he would click on like that. And that would make me happy. And that would click on there too. And now we have a car attached to an arm. And that is not how we end the game, is it? Because that doesn't make any sense. End the game. Where do I come up with these things? Oh man, what do I do? I'm going to start by transforming all the cars. So we have our first Stunticon ready to gestaltize. Next was Wild Rider. Now Wild Rider and Breakdown are the same, we know, so that's not going to be too hard to figure out. Dragstrip is a bit of a unique dude because he's his own model. There is no other. So looking at Wild Rider, first of all we remove his errant pipe and his gun. And we will stand him into a more transformable position. So we already know that based on his arms that they will be like that eventually. And his hands will fold in. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but then we fold his whole torso down. I say torso, I mean head and chest. We fold up the head and snap it back into his chest, like that, see? Then we take... So this always confuses me. I mean, were these supposed to be somewhere else at some point? They never were they? Was he mistransformed? He must have been. I guess this is what Wild Rider really looks like without a head. Because according to this, they need to then fold up. And they tab in. I mean, that will all join together. And then that will clip down over the top and hold it in place. Like, but there is a lot of like sections here that if they're not quite lined up will make that hard. So having said that, I'm just going to go back to this guy and wonder whether he's wrong. because these will be the same. If they fold out like that, and then that goes down there, but you just get less of a backpack, I guess, if it's like that. Anyway, so we now have a front end of a car, and we have a back end of a car that obviously is the back end of the car because it's facing the other way. But if we rotate the hips, which is what I'm assuming we will do, and then find a way to fold that over, which will mean removing this, probably, will it? How does the back end transform? It does rotate around, the feet come out, they snap in, whole sides of the car swing out. Well, there you go, that's new. That's a new one. So these, do they rotate? They just snap in. It says they go click. These are the feet, by the way, sorry, just to get ahead of you. Feet, feet, feet. They don't snap in at all, but it says they do. And then the sides of the car swing out. Which doesn't look like that's gonna happen. What moves? What moves here? So there's a problem. Then all the tequila catches up with me. I mean, it doesn't go click. There's a tiny tab there, and there's a tiny hole in the feet, and they do that. And the instructions have like a kind of click noise. That doesn't happen. Now we get some complicated move. Somehow the side of the feet swing out. Ah. Remember that noise from Unicron? Ah. So there we go. And then what we get to do is that will then swing around, become the top of the car. And then the wheels will snap down, and those feet will be at the bottom. Wow, and eventually we will have a car like that. It will click into place, it will all click into place. Is this better than me going, I don't know. It's a combiner, it's an experiment. They seem to think that the gun that I do not know what I did with. It's the problem with the fear of the symmetrical guns, is that when you finally need two, they're nowhere to be found. Alright, so now we have dead ends, and then we'll come back to breakdown, who is the same. So the first thing we're doing is a similar thing to what we did with drag strip, which is swinging this whole arm section around like that. Which makes me wonder, is this guy just drag strip? Probably not. Then we spin him around, we take his front end section and pull that out like that. Pretty sure, oh, we might be telling us to do that as well. Let's just do that for now. I don't think so though, really, it's just that. Then the arms, because I mean, this will be a stumpy car really, but they go down like that. So now we have an even more pessimistic looking sad sack, and we're doing something with his head. Okay, so yeah, so you've got pins there, and then it's very tight, but that will swing back under there like that, and then I guess we close that down like that. Then we bring the arms up around once the head is missing, like that. There's a tab there, which we tab in, and then that arm section comes down like that. It sort of tabs into the side of the car. I've got two wheels at the front. Yeah, look at that, it's a hot rod. Bang! And the front comes down like that, I'm guessing. Well, no, first of all we have to do something with these wheels. Is there more front car? No. So something's not right there. But anyway, let's just see what the instructions are saying. So far really they're just telling us to do this. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. And then the front end apparently does just close over. And they don't say to move the wheels at all. So how does that work? Unless this whole section here swings up and over? No. Seems like that's where it wants to be. So why are the wheels so far forwards? All those wheels need to do is spin back somehow and then we'll be right. But I do not see unless... No, they definitely... Ah, man. Okay. What do we think, people? Why is this not happening? I mean, there obviously snaps in at the front. And... one of the first things I was supposed to do was somehow spin these wheels down. Ah, there we go. First step, missed it. That makes way more sense. Alright, so now we have to figure out a way to remove this middle section of this car, which means there has to be some kind of flap. Oh, yep. Like that. And then these will fold over like that. Sorry, so you can see it. Like that. Yep. And then like that. Bam, bam, bam. Lock that in place with these little tabs. You can see them there. Snap that back end together. Close the legs. We have a car. And once again, because I just opened this, I have two guns that I can plug onto his back. Real James Bond kind of shit there. That's cool. Alright. Can we remember how to transform? Breakdown. Alright, let's have a look. So we already know that we've done that. We have to do that later. But let's just go these arms. Let's go completely off grid here. These hands fold in like that. Like that, like that. Then we have to get rid of the head. So that folds out like that. Back in and then under, like that. We fold the arms down just for the halibut. We will take the front end and we will fold the arms back in, like that. And we will somehow line up all of everything, because the arms being straight is vital. The front end of the car will tab in here, like that, like that. Front down. Now, how do we do these again? We rotated the whole thing, like that. Then the sides of the car came out. Yeah, so then we have the sides coming out. Again, like that. The whole thing folds over. And then that down, tabs in, that. Oh my god, what did we do with the spoiler? Found it. Woo! Alright, and then we have basically the same car, but this one, because it only comes with one gun. That's interesting. Oh, hang on. They're dead ends instructions. I didn't even look at breakdowns instructions. What are we supposed to do with your one gun Rodeo? Oh, there you go, just plugs in underneath. Old school, mate. The guns in Transformers, they used to just plug in underneath and then you'd be golden. Oh yeah. So you've got this square tab and then that hole for ease of gun storage. We have 4 Stunticons. Breakdown. See? Something for everything, everyone there. Something for everyone to enjoy. Kynan, this is what you would have got if I'd done this from the beginning. Nice stripe there, I like that. And maybe I should do more of this. The cars are easier than insects and strange animals. Bam. Alright, now we have to figure out how to attach them to Menasaur. Which the instructions don't really tell you. And I'm guessing that the reason that is because they're all basically the same. You got the 2 guides of how to add. Right. You got the 2 instructions of how to do drag strip and wild rider, and they're basically going to be the same. So first things first, let's remove the gun and the sword. Now the instructions here seem to be telling me to pull a whole arm upwards somehow. Which really doesn't seem to make that much sense to me. And why would you? Or just take it off? Were these arms separate at some stage? I guess they were. Or is it saying to do this? Okay, let's pretend it's saying to do that, which you can't see. Instead of pulling it up, we're just rotating it up. We are then taking the wheels and spinning them out. And then the whole arm bends. I don't know why. Why is it telling us to do that? Maybe so we can get the wheels out easily? Nope, I don't buy it. The hands are still at the bottom. Right, so, complaining time again. The instructions don't actually tell you to change the configuration of the arms. Alright, so the instructions do just say up, like up. Ugh. Actually means take it off. Oh, man. So, we've got these arm sections here. As you can see, I've been playing around with this one. This one's the same. So we take our two arm dudes, who is Drag Strip and Dead End, and you can see they've got this like tab, impossible to see thing here, and he's got one as well. And that actually separates them so they'll bend when they're attached. So Drag Strip will plug in here. Tabs. But what you have to do is flatten out this so that you can actually fit on. So you have that behind there, like that. Then attach Drag Strip there. Now what we've done is, as you can see, we've disengaged that. Then we'll take him, fold that back around there. Oh man, really? So that will now bend, and we can plug the other section onto there. And there you have an arm. Once you've done that, I guess you can fold this out again so that you have a fully bendy Stunticon drag strip hand. Just plug that back on, like that. That is slightly more complicated than the old version, which just bent at the legs and the waist. Like, so basically the legs became the bending section. Do the same thing with Dead End. That folds down like that. So you can plug him in. That'll disengage there. Fold that around again, plug that on there. And there you've got some fairly chunky arms attached to Menasaur. Now I'm a bit worried about this next bit. He's starting to get heavy. I think I've realised that these car sections, so that folds down there and that becomes a foot, obviously. But from what I've seen, these are at the back, which is bullshit. And I think I hate that. So you've got these sections here that'll fold in. And you've got the cars at the back of Menasaur, which I'm not happy about. And also, I don't know how you get those shins to stay open, but whatever. I mean, I guess if you clip them in properly. So, I don't know what's going on there, but that is shit. And it makes me want to be able to fix it and claim that it's wrong somehow. There's a lever here that'll close it. So, when these guys lock in, it pushes that all the way shut. It goes in the fucking thing like that. And now they're kind of more shut. So I'll just make sure that it's the same over here. Push that in. Come on. Oh, you have to be rough with your Transformers sometimes. Get in there. Why? Alright. I feel like that's wrong. I mean, look, The waist is backwards. Fuck this. That's my Menasaur. I feel like some people on the internet have got it wrong. But maybe they don't, and maybe I'm just a fool. I mean, they are giant feet, as you can see. I don't know what I think, to tell you the truth. If the waist is backwards, then these have to spin around. And that's how your foot moves, isn't it? Yeah, so I guess it's right. So it's that way. And I hate that. But he feels chunky and good. And I now have a plethora of guns, and a giant sword, and a giant hand cannon. And here we have Menasaur. Combiner class, deluxe commander legacy class Menasaur, who feels good, like feels real heavy and chunky and everything's locked in. I hate having the feet at the back like that. I hate it. Maybe he doesn't need to bend at the knees. God, what's the point? Why? So we've come to the end of yet another Brews and Bots, even though it was filmed across several nights, which actually I think turned into several weeks. And I'm wrecked, and it's late, and I still have to have one more tequila and mosh. Maybe it makes sense that they can only make Menasaur. I mean, it's legacy. It's supposed to be the legacy of the brand. It should have been Devastator, really. We're also getting a combiner core class Volcanicus. He's chunky, I gotta say. He feels good. I'm gonna be sad to take him apart and turn him back into a shelf guy. Because that is a great combiner. Like, that's... It didn't cost me $1 million to get them all again. Especially you, fucking dead end. I would probably do that. And he's cool, but he's way cooler as 5 dudes, I think. Ugh. So, we're about to have our final tequila for the evening and end with some closing thoughts based on the start of the thoughts that I had when we first started the video. So who knows what is going to happen to the orange man. Might end up in orange, who knows. There's a trial coming up, April 25th, the defamation case of E.G. and Carroll. He made a speech recently, actually, at the, it wasn't CPAC, it was the Republican National Convention. And he was talking about looking forward and not looking back, and that worried me a little bit because I don't want people to think he's changed, because he hasn't. The word penitentiary comes from doing penance, being alone with your thoughts, and maybe that's the only hope for this particular fellow. Anyway, that's enough of that. To Menasaur. Completing a combiner on screen as well. Until next time, which is actually probably only a few days away, because something exciting is arriving in the mail. Good night.